It is a storage area. So what type of storage means? Maybe something like RDBMS, maybe a flat files, maybe XML files, maybe legacy system, means mainframe, something like that, etc. So what is the use of this data? In general, we are saying it is a storage area. It is used to store huge amount of data. Huge amount of data.
Ramesh,
Usually, yeah, tell me.
What's the legacy system means?
Like mainframe systems.
Oh, okay.
Mainframe, CS400, such type of things. So
Oh.
there we'll store the data. There also we'll use files only. We'll call as an vSAM files.
Okay.
So here it used to store huge amount of data. Usually that data what you're having here will usually you'll call it as an historical and current data. Historical data as well as current data. So what you will do with this data? It is used to perform multi-dimensional analysis. Used to perform multi-dimensional analysis. Usually we'll call that as an comparative analysis and historical analysis. So what is used with this analysis? It is used to make a better decision. So what is the general definition of data rows means? We'll say data rows is a storage system or it is a storage area used to perform analysis for making a better decision. So it is a definition of data rows. So general definition of data rows means it is a storage area used to perform analysis for making a better decision. So before going to this data warehouse system, we go with something called as a database. What is database? So maybe you are familiar with this already. I think you told yesterday. So what is database in your terms?
Oracle and SQL.
Those are
SQL
examples.
Server.
Those are examples. What is database? What is the use of it?
Like a store where they store tables and
Fine. Is it a storage area?
There.
Is it a storage area?
Yes.
Okay. So it is a storage system or storage. This storage system came in the period of approximately like 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Like your SQL language is developed by IBM in the period of 1972. So the databases came into the picture in the period of 70s. But before that, is there any system to store the data means? Yes, definitely they used to have some type of things to store the data. That is a file system, isn't it? Previously used to store the data in the file system.
Yes.
Now the industry has switched from file system to the database
Database.
system.
Mm-hmm.
What could be the reason to switch from file system to database? Your file system supports to perform CRUD operations. You can perform all the CRUD operations. Same way, database also supports to perform CRUD operations.
What is a CURD operations means?
Create, read, update, delete.
Oh.
So create means nothing but like inserting a record. Read means reading a record or fetching a record. U means update, updating a record, modifying a record. Delete, D means deleting a record. You can delete the record from that respect to storage system.
Oh.
So file system supports to do all these four activities. Even database also supports to perform all these activities. Then why the industry has switched from file system to database? Is there any reason for that? Any idea?
I guess maybe better accessing.
Right. Yes. Usually when you go for any database classes, they'll talk about the disadvantages of file system and advantages of database.
Mm-hmm.
So like what you told, the same points.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, I'm having set of records in my file system. I'm having up to, for example, 10,000 rows are there. If you're having only one record in your file system, you want to read the data. So in the file system, there is nothing like rows and columns. It is lines of data, isn't it?
Yes.
So whenever you want to read the data, if it is a single line of data is present, very easily you can read it. But if you're having 10,000 rows of data, that means 10,000 lines are there. Within that, you want to pick up a particular record, maybe by saying that particular employee number or maybe particular item number, something like that. We don't know in
Mm-hmm.
which line that particular record is present, isn't it?
Yes.
So the programming part, if you take it up internally, how it works, you have to open the file in the read-only mode,
Mm-hmm.
place the cursor point at the starting point of the file, read that line.
Mm-hmm.
It is a line. So you have to split that into a set of values. That means like variables perspective based on the separator what you're having, or maybe based on the number of characters present within that line. Split it,
Mm-hmm.
pick up that particular employee number, compare to your required employee number, is it matching or not? If it matches, you display the data. If it doesn't matches, read the next line. Again, you have to perform the same thing. Well, split it, compare it to your value. If it is same, display, else leave it, go to the next record. Like this, you have to work sequentially. How many rows? Maybe 10,000 rows. When you're working like that sequentially, definitely it takes a long time, isn't it?
Yes.
So that means the file system is slower system. That is the reason we are switched from file system to database. That is one reason, like what you told as an accessibility. So in the database, you're having a concept called as an indexing concept. And with the help of that, you can read the data in very much faster way, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason from the file system, the industry has switched to the database to have the better accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
But along with that, one more advantage is security. Only authorized people can access the data from the database. If it is a file, any person can access it. So mainly two reasons: for better accessibility of data and for better security purpose, we are switching from file system to database. Clear?
Yes.
Now in this file, the database also, the number of rows are increased. As because of the business process, the records are increased. Something like this. Five billion records. Now, what is the performance you're having with the 10,000 rows? Can you expect the same performance if you rank 5 billion records? Does it take the
No.
same time period to give the output?
No.
Definitely no. Every component will have one cutoff level will be there. When the data increases more than that, step by step, the performance will reduce or it will take little bit long time. Maybe at one particular point it may fail also, isn't it?
Yes.
So if the data is tremendously increasing the database cannot handle that much data. So it will become slow or sometime it will not work. It may crash. But if a client is saying that I'm having nearly 20 years data or 30 years data is there, that is in trillions of records of data is there. That means maybe in that case database is not suitable to work, isn't it?
Yes.
So I need to look for better system. How you are switching from file system to the database? In the similar way, I need to switch from the database to some other better system. So what is that better system means? Data warehouse. How you are switched from file system? In the similar way, you switch from database to data warehouse if you have tremendous amount of data. If you're having like maybe 5 trillion records, maybe 100 trillion records, something like that, if you're having, then it is advisable to switch from the database to data warehouse system. Why you are switching to database means we told the two reasons. One is security, another is an accessibility. But as per our context, we'll take the accessibility. So database, if the records are increased, it's becoming slow. So to improve the performance, try to go for data warehouse system so that you can read the data in a faster way. Clear?
Yes.
So data warehouse system helps you to read the data in a better, faster process. Now, if you go back to the file system again, this file system for what purpose you can use it means I can use it for business activity purpose. That means I can store the business data, business transactions I can perform here, and I can store that related information within my file system. Is it suitable to have the reporting from the file system? So can you read the data? Can you present the data as a report? Means yes, definitely it is possible. So you can use it for reporting also. But if you're having two records, the business transaction is more faster, reporting is more faster. If you're having maybe 10,000 rows, maybe 1 billion rows, then business system becomes slow as well as reporting becomes slow. Clear?
Yes.
Same way, there is reason you're switching to database. So database can also be used for business transactions purpose. So you can use it for business transactions. You can do the business activities to store the business data, as well as you can use it for reporting. So you can read the data and you can display the data in an understandable format so that client can study and he can understand the data. Based on that, he can make some decisions. There.
Yes.
When it comes to the data warehouse, Data warehouse is only for reporting. You cannot use it for the business transactions. Data warehouse is not at all suitable for business transactions. It's only for reporting, only for analysis. Clear?
Ah, yes, clear.
That means if any person is saying that I'm having a data warehouse system in my organization, means definitely before that there will be a file system or maybe a database system, isn't it?
Yes.
Without a database or without file system, there is no question of data warehouse. You may have file system after the data warehouse, or you may have database after the data warehouse. Sometimes you may have file system, you may have database along with the data warehouse also. All the three things may also present. Clear?
Yes.
Once again, I'm asking the same question. Database. What is database?
With the stored data,
Fine.
tables.
Yeah. Usually, if you go for any database training,
Mm-hmm.
the trainer who is teaching this particular database will try to talk about advantage of database and disadvantage of file system. But in his first class, usually in the first class, he says database is a storage system, isn't it?
Yes.
Used to store the data. This is the continual case. So once the first class is completed, maybe you went for second class, maybe third class, maybe fourth class, something like that. Maybe at
Mm-hmm.
one particular class, he will say that, like what you told previously,
Mm-hmm.
database is used to maintain the data in the form of rows and columns called as table, isn't it?
Yes.
So database is used to maintain the data, or he says that he used to organize the data, he says, isn't it?
Yes.
So I'll remove this last statement, this part. So database is to maintain or organize the data in a better form.
Okay.
That's the reason we'll say what are the data you're running in database. Instead of saying data, we'll say usually information. At the file place, we'll say it is a raw data. We'll say at the database level, we'll say it is an information because it is an organized data. It is so that you can read and you can understand the data and you can perform the transactions very easily. Isn't it?
Yes.
So the trainer is giving the information in this format. In the first class, he told it is to store the data. Now maybe in fifth or sixth class, he is saying that it is to maintain or organize the data. Are these two terms are same?
Store and maintain. Yes.
Store means you are physically holding the data.
Yes.
Maintaining or organizing means you are telling how to store the data.
Yes.
So strictly speaking, database is not a storage area. Usually general perspective will say database means storage area, storage system. But technically, database is not a storage system. It just tells how to organize the data. It is your wish where you want to maintain the data. Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So database is used to tell how to store the data or how to organize the data. So it is not storing the data by itself. Okay.
Okay.
Simple example. I think you know Oracle database, isn't it? Oracle or SQL Server? Which database you know?
Oracle.
All right,
SQL, too, a little bit, not too much.
fine. So for example, if you take SQL Server,
Okay.
usually you'll create a database. Within the database, you'll create the table. Within the table, you'll store your records, isn't it?
Yes.
Whether it's an Oracle or a SQL or anything. Where is that software is installed? In your system, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Means computer or this PC, isn't it?
Yes.
Usually in where it will be in maybe C drive or a D drive or E drive somewhere, isn't it?
Yes.
When you open your drive, what is there here in drive? Do you find out any table, EMP table, customer table here? Is it possible?
No. No.
Then what is there in this drive? You're having only folders and files, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So you are saying that you are installed Oracle database. Within that, you have created a table. You have stored some records. Maybe you have created database in SQL Server. Within that, you have created a table. You have stored some records. But everything at the system level is a file only, isn't it?
Yes.
That means the database is also storing data in file only, isn't it?
Yes.
So database is not having its own storage area, its own memory or something like that. It is finally keeping the data in the file only. But we told that previously the file system is slow and database is more faster. But even here you are saying that we are working with file only, then how you will get the faster data? Only thing is, I want above that file we'll have some programming techniques will be there which will help us to read the data in a faster. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
means maybe I'll be creating some something called as like indexing. For example, in database there is a concept indexing. What does it mean? It will try to keep the key column and its address. So whenever you're asking for a particular record means it goes to that particular area, it finds the address of that particular key column and goes to that area, reads the data and displays the data. So that no need to search the complete record or no need to split it, isn't it?
Yes.
So it becomes faster. And same way there is a concept called as an uh, working with parallel concept. What you will say about the term? Partitions. In database, you can implement the partitions. So when you implement
Mm-hmm.
partitions, what will happen? I can read that particular record, I can search for the particular record in parallel mode. Means maybe like for example, the data is present in a file. Maybe I'll create the two partitions for that. For example, 1,000 rows are there. You have created two partitions. For 1 to 500 is a one partition, 500 to 1,000 is another partition. I can search in both the partitions at a time parallelly so that I can find my record very within the less time. Isn't it?
Yes.
So these are the programming techniques which are implemented at the database level to have the faster accessibility. So that's what the database. Database means it is not a storage system. It is not storing data by its own. It is having some programming techniques or some special features are there which help us to read the data in a faster way. But internally data is present within the file only. On above file, we rank one layer to have the better accessibility of data. Clear?
Okay.
So for example, if you go with the SQL Server, so whenever you install the SQL Server, whenever you create any database,
Mm-hmm.
it will create the files like MDF and the LDF. These two files will be created. So within that only we'll have the entire data. For example, here 53 files are there in my system, isn't it? Total.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Services. SQL Server. Okay, it is running. So I'll try to open my SQL Server Management Studio.
Mm-hmm.
Same if you go to the Oracle also. These are the files. System01.dbf database file.
Database, yeah.
Redo files, as well as for users purpose, one dbf file is created. Your data will present within this file folder. Okay.
Okay.
So for example, I'm connecting to my SQL server. This is the data. So set of databases are there. Is there any database in this list called a sample database, sample DB? From system databases to SSIS DB, if observe, is there any sample DB?
No.
No. So I'll try to create that here. Okay.
Okay.
I already showed that there are totally 53 files are there in my folder, SQL Server folder. So I'm coming to this SQL Server Management Studio. Being on this, I'm creating one database, new database. I'm giving some name here called as a sample DB. I'll click on OK. So here it is showing in my list at the bottom of it. Now within this sample DB, for example, I'll create some table. I'm saying as new table. So I can write a SQL command, but I'm going with a wizard here. So here I'm giving the column name, for example, employee number, and I'm saying my data type is, for example, something like a numeric data type or maybe an integer data type. A name, only two columns I'm trying to pick it up, and I'll try to take this as an varchar field. With 15, and I'll save this. It is asking for the table name. I'm giving the name as, for example, EMP. Click on OK. Table is created. I'll close this window. So under sample DB, we have created the table. Here if observe, it is showing me EMP table. Maybe if I say select a star from EMP, it says that records are not present, because just now we have created the table, we are not inserted any data. Maybe write an insert command to insert the record. For example, insert into EMP, for example, values, for example, one, name is Smith, maybe two, from, for example, Mark, close this. Executed, it is saying two rows affected, and if observe the table, it is saying two rows. So we have created database. Within the database, we created table and you have inserted some records. Previously in the folder, I showed that there are 53 are there, isn't it? When you counted in the bottom. Now you observe it. You observe it. Now how many are there?
55.
So it is created two files here. One is LDF file and another is the MDF file. Sample db.mdf, that is 9 September 17, and sample db LDF. Clear?
Yes, clear.
So here everything is stored in the file only, but you can't access that file directly. You have to access through your database technology or database editors only. Okay.
Yes.
But even database is storing data internally within the file system only. So what, strictly speaking, what is database means? It is not a storage system. It is a specification which tells how to organize the data. But if you tell what is the specification, like if you say specification and all those things in interview, the people will ask, what is that specification? Can you explain that specification? Unnecessary lot of questions will come. To avoid that, simply we'll say it is a storage area. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So we have to talk about something called as an card rules. Maybe you have heard about that. So whenever you're saying that you're creating a database system means you have to follow the card rules. There are 12 rules will be there. At least 4 rules you have to implement. Then only you can call that software as a database. Otherwise, it is not called as a database.
Okay.
Minimum 4 principles. Same way, you will have something called as an ANSI SQL standard. That standards you have to follow. So if you have to follow card rules, you have to follow ANSI SQL standards. Along with that, you have to follow the SQL query language, SQL language syntaxes you have to follow. If you follow all these things, then only the system is called as database, where you're applying all these things on the file system. Okay. So strictly speaking, database is a specification. Or you may say as a concept simply used to organize the data in a better form. Clear? That is an actual definition. But we'll follow the general perspective thing by saying it's simply storage.
Okay.
For easy communication purpose, for easy content, you'll say database is storage.
Okay.
Similarly, data warehouse also. What is data warehouse means? Simply we'll say it is a storage system.
Yes.
But strictly speaking, even data warehouse is also not a storage system. If data warehouse itself is a storage system, then why you need RDBMS, why you need flat files, why you need XML files? No need, no.
Yes.
So strictly speaking, data warehouse is also not a storage system. But in a general definition, we'll say it is a storage system. So this answer is valid only for the people who just completed their academy.
Okay.
If you say that you're having some experience in the database or the warehouse perspective, you should not say data warehouse is a storage system. Then what is data warehouse? Data warehouse is a concept. Just like a database, this is also a concept. It is also a theory. It is also just like database, it is also a theory. Clear? Like database means I told that you have to follow code rules, you have to follow ANSI SQL standards, you have to implement indexing, you have to implement partition. All those are the specifications of your database. Until you follow those things on the storage system, on the file system, you cannot call that as a database. For example, if you take some storage system, on this storage system, you're having some layer, and this layer is trying to implement something called as an code rules. If you implement something called as an code rules, if you implement ANSI SQL standards, if you implement something called as an indexing, various other concepts, then only this system is called as database. So on the storage system, you're applying all these specifications. Then this is called as database. Similarly, data warehouse. It is also just like database, it is also a theory. But when you say theory or a specification, definitely you'll have some rules and regulations will be there. Like for database means I told code rules, ANSI SQL standards, something like that. So what is this theory or what is this concept is talking about? So there are four type of things. First one is subject oriented. Second one, integrated. Third one, non-volatile. Fourth one, time variant. These are the four principles. So if you take any storage system, that storage may be a files, maybe a database itself, it can be anything. So on this storage, if you apply these principles, if you implement these principles on this storage system, then this particular system is called as data warehouse. Simply storage system is not data warehouse. The storage which is implementing data warehouse principles is called as data warehouse system. Clear?
Yes.
And if you observe these principles, subject oriented, it's talking about how to organize the data. Data should be in the form of small subjects. Maybe if you learn the programming languages mainly related to OOPS, object oriented programming system, there will say that complete program we should not write as a single class, make as a multiple classes and implement the inheritance between them. That means create small objects and if necessary integrate them. Same way here, subject oriented. Try to create small subjects based on your specification what you're having. Maybe sales is one subject, maybe marketing is another subject, production is another subject, something like that.
Mhm.
Under each subject area, maybe we'll have set of tables. So make as a create the entire system in the form of small subjects and try to store the data within that particular system. Integrated means in general perspective, you are integrating different operating systems data to one place. Means maybe your organization initially they started with the file system and the data is stored in a files. But later they upgraded to the database and they are using database system also. So they're having some data in file system, some data in the database. I cannot write a single SQL query to read the data from both these places. Maybe some data is present in SQL Server, some data is present in Netezza, some data is present in Oracle. So I want to read the data and I want to give in the form of report means right away it's not possible. So what you have to do, integrate all these data into one common type of storage system. From there you try to design the reports. So that's what integrate.
Mhm.
Non-volatile, the name itself is expanding. Non-volatile means read-only. Means data is not allowed to make any change. If data is keep on changing, it's not possible to perform analysis. So try to maintain the data in the form of non-volatile read-only. But I'm not saying complete data is read-only. Maybe certain type of values, may because of necessity, you may change it. And fourth one, time with. We are saying that data warehouse is consisting historical data and the current data. Then how do you know which is history and which is current? You should have a timestamp for that. That's what time.
Yes.
So if you apply these four principles on the storage system, then it is called as data warehouse. So what is the technical definition of data warehouse means? It is just like a database. What is data warehouse means? It is a concept
Data.
used to organize the data in a pattern one for faster execution process. Okay.
No.
So you can take a file and you can treat that as a data row system, or maybe you can take any database and you can treat that as a warehouse. Clear?
Yes.
Only thing, you will apply some special rules on that particular storage. Now, previously I told that if any person is saying that he's having a data row system, means before that definitely there will be a file system or there may be a database, because data rows is not useful for business perspective. So just I'll give the block diagram, like data rows life cycle, or maybe you may say as an business intelligence life cycle. So any business process initially starts with some application, business application. Okay.
Mhm.
So what is a business application? Nothing but a front-end screen where your end user can interact. For example, you open Amazon.com.
Mhm.
It's just an application where you can interact with that particular organization, maybe by selecting the products, something like that, isn't it?
Yes.
It is a GUI application, GUI, graphical user interface, to interact with that particular software. Now, for example, if you take Amazon as an example, you want to purchase a product, so you open an Amazon. But Amazon has to display all the products what they are selling through that website, isn't it?
Yes.
So they have to display the items, means does that item information directly, does they store it on the web page, means no. The data will present in some storage system, maybe database, maybe file. At the runtime, the website will capture the data from that storage and renders the data on the web page so that we can view that particular data, isn't it?
Yes.
That means they should have some storage system. That storage may be a file, maybe a database, it can be anything, not a problem. So where you'll have all the products information, so at the runtime it will capture the data from there and displays on the web page. I'm trying to represent in the form of database, but need not be database only.
Okay.
Now fine, it is displayed all the items information on your web page. You have viewed it and finally you have selected one product. When you want to purchase the product, first of all you have to register with it.
Mhm.
That means your information has to be posted to this Amazon. So they have to preserve your data. That means they should have some storage system. So that storage system will consist the product related information or what is the business they are trying to do, that related information. Along with that, they'll try to store even customer information also. But once you have stored like that, what is the next thing? The customer will try to purchase a product. That means business transactions are happening, isn't it?
Yes.
So it is supporting to perform business transactions. So you can call this as a business system. So usually we'll call this particular system as a OLTP,
Mhm.
online transaction processing system, because it is supporting to perform business transactions. So we'll call this as an OLTP, online transaction processing system. But here online means don't consider it as a web application. Online means I'm talking about the business application, and this storage system should have continuous connectivity. Then only you can perform the business activity. Otherwise, it is not possible.
Yes.
So that's what online. Now, this system, what is the system you're having as a business system or a OLTP system? You can call this as an operation system. You can call it as an ODS, operational data source, with various names. But this system, what is an architecture you are following in the system, it is suitable only for business. You can have the reporting also, but if running less amount of data, it is good. But if the data is tremendously increased, then you cannot perform reporting from this place. Okay?
Yes.
Its main purpose is for business transactions. Now, when you say business system, and if you talk as per the database perspective, what type of model you'll follow here means we'll implement normalized system at this OLTP level. Data is stored in the form of normalized. So usually we'll say that, like for example, you're writing employee details and there is a salary details. So instead of keeping in one table, you're trying to keep two tables, and you're having a relationship between them. That you will call as a normalized system, isn't it?
Yes.
So at the business level, usually you'll follow normalized systems only. Because, for example, if you take a web, Amazon itself, they want to display all the products on the first page. So they doesn't need, like for example, if you display, like they are selling nearly 10,000 type of items. If they show all the 10,000 items on the first page, the customer feel uncomfort with such type of publication, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what the organization will do, they'll show the category. If you select a category, then they'll show the subcategory. When you select a subcategory, then they'll show the product. If you select the product, then they may ask for the price. So that means you're not reading the complete data at a time, you are reading part by part, isn't it?
Yes.
So if you keep the complete data in one table, like categories, subcategories, items in one table itself, reading becomes very, very slow. That is the reason what you'll do, categories will keep in one table, subcategories in another table, items in another table. What is an advantage means maybe you have only two categories, and in each category you have only 5 items. So if you keep the complete data in one table itself, the number of rows will be more and searching becomes very, very slow. Okay.
Yes.
So we'll follow normalized system at the business process. But if you want to read the complete data, then normalized system creates a problem. So in such cases, it is advisable to go for denormalized system. But when you're implementing business system, I cannot implement both the things here, normalized as well as denormalized at a time. It is not possible. You have to go only with one.
Yes.
So usually the business system you will work with the normalized systems only, but this is more suitable for business, not for analysis. So if you are trying to read the data from here, it takes very, very long time. Because of that, the business will be affected. Maybe it is suitable for management. Maybe if it's taking long time, also management is waiting, but it will affect the business process. So without affecting the business process, you should allow the management to perform analysis within the less time. For that purpose, what you will be trying to do means you are creating similarly storage system how you are having in the similar way, one more storage system will be creating. And usually this system will call it as a
Oh, yeah.
OLTP, online analytical processing system. General term is data warehouse.
Yeah.
But does the client will write the data to this place means no, he will interact only with OLTP system. Then how do you get the data to the warehouse system, to the OLTP system? I should have some special software.
Yeah.
So with the help of some special software, maybe try to copy the data from OLTP system to OLAP. So what is this software?
ETL.
Yes, CTL, extract, transform, load. Means extract the data from OLTP system, transform the data, because already I mentioned OLTP is a normalized and warehouse is denormalized. So you transform the data, you summarize the data as per the reporting requirement. After that, load the data. Extract, transform,
load.
load. So if you say that OLTP is a database and OLAP is a database, for example, nothing but here you will be writing a select statement to read the data.
Mm-hmm.
Once you got it, you will apply the business logic as per the reporting requirement. After that, load the data. Load the data is nothing but inserting records.
Mm-hmm.
Clear?
Yes.
Now this ETL software can be developed with programming technique. But if you go with the programming technique, it is not like one program, a set of programs you should write. And each program will have maybe thousand lines of code, maybe 10,000 lines of code, something like that. So if you're having that much code means more number of programs and each program assigns so many number of lines of code. That means you have to spend a lot of time to develop this particular software or this process, isn't it?
Yes.
So that is the reason. So what is programming? What type of programming? Maybe C, C++, maybe Perl, shell scripting, etc. Various script programming languages you can use it. But it is taking very long time to develop it. Maintenance is very difficult. That is the reason nowadays we are going for automated tools. When you say automated tools, everything like a drag and drop. Because of that, what happens? The development becomes easy. Because of the duration reduces. Because of that, cost reduces. Clear?
Yeah. Yes.
So what are the tools you're having? Informatica. So mainly I'm talking about Power Center, but as various other tools are also there. Next, you're having something called as a data stage. You're having something called as an ODI. You're having something called as an Abincio. So for example, you're having something called as an MSBI, Microsoft Business Intelligence, but not complete software, only SSIS, SQL Server Integration Services.
Okay.
So like this, various type of softwares are there. With the help of any one of these things, you can perform the ETL process. Theoretically, same, syntactically, they are different. So as per our class, here we'll be using Informatica.
Informatica.
Clear?
Yes.
Once the data came into the warehouse system, what is the next process?
Report.
So consumer can have the reports from there. So report output. Okay.
Okay.
But how do you get the report? So you should have some software for that.
Mm-hmm.
Reporting software. So with the help of that, you will be designing the reports, and when you execute it, you will get an output. So even reporting software can be developed with the programming technique. Can be developed with the programming technique. What are the languages you can use? It means maybe something like a C language, C++, maybe Perl scripting, SQL reporting, etc. But it will take long time because of cost reduces, maintenance is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
That is the reason you are switching to automated tools. So what are the automated tools? Something like Cognos, SAP PO, Hyperion, OBIWE. So many tools are there in this particular format. Okay.
Okay.
SBI, mainly SSRS, various tools, Power BI, various things. So it is your which are the reporting software you need with the help of that to have the report. So this total life cycle is called as a data warehousing life cycle, or maybe you can call it a business intelligence. Clear?
Yes.
But sometimes, if you feel that reporting software is becoming very slow to give the report output because you're having huge amount of data, in such cases, you'll be creating something called as a cubes, and these cubes will be giving it to the reporting software. So reporting software will read the data from the cube and gives as a report output. But from where do you get the data to the cube? From the warehouse system.
Yes.
If you feel that GoldTP is a business system and it is a real database you are using, for example, then you will call this as a, it is basically in the form of relational model. Warehouse is in the form of dimensional model. And cube is in the form of multi-dimensional model. So you are looking for Informatica, which comes under between OLTP and OLAP system. So as you are writing the data into the warehouse system, which is following dimensional model, so you should know the basic idea about what is dimensional model, what type of tables will be there, where do you write the data, these type of things. Okay.
Okay.
So, but this total process is called as a business intelligence, or you can call it a data warehouse lifecycle.
Okay.
So for today, I'll close it here. So tomorrow, I'll start with data warehouse principles like subject oriented, integrated, non-volatile, and time based. Those principles we'll try to discuss.
Okay.
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 So for today, we'll close it here. So we'll meet tomorrow, same time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.